The Disneyland Tree of Life is emblematic of an increasing fabricated environment that, in the electronic gaming down of life, uses sacred imagery for commercial gain. In an article entitled, "Who Am We?", Cheryl Turkle, researcher for MIT, examines the burgeoning cyberspace lives of children and teenagers. She has found that we are moving from a modernist culture of calculation toward a postmodernist culture of stimulation and simulation. That life on the screen permits us to project ourselves into our own dramas in which we are producer, director, and star. Computer screens are now the new locations for our fantasies, says Turkle, both erotic and intellectual. We are using life on computer screens to become comfortable with new ways of thinking about evolution, sexuality, politics, and identity. According to Turkle, windows have become a powerful metaphor for thinking about the self as a multiple distributed system. And this is a quote from her. The self is no longer simply playing different roles in different settings at different times. The life practice of windows is that a decentered self that exists in many worlds, that plays many roles, and at the same time. Now, real life itself may be, as one of Turkle's subjects says, just one more window. Once we take virtuality seriously as a way of life, says Turkle, we need a new language for talking about the simplest things. Each person must ask, what is the nature of my relationships? What are the limits of my responsibility? And even more basic, who and what am I? What is the connection between my physical and virtual bodies? End of quote. She then asks if this differs in different cyberspaces. What kind of society or societies are we creating both on and off the screen? True solitude, reflective thought, and appreciation for self-identity in one's real body can no longer be taken for granted. Wherever we are and serve, however, we need to remember the example of St. Paul. He wrote to the Corinthians in their city of gods and goddesses and excess, "Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you? So glorify God in your bodies." Recently, William Dershowitz wrote in the Chronicle of Higher Education that while everyone seeks more and broader connectivity, the still small voice speaks only in silence. Yet, a constant stream of mediated contact, virtual, notional, and simulated, keeps us wired to the electronic hive, though contact seems increasingly beside the point. The goal now, it seems, is simply to become known, to turn oneself into a sort of miniature celebrity. How many friends do I have on my Facebook? How many people are reading my blog? How many Google hits does my name generate? Visibility secures our self-esteem, becoming a substitute twice removed for genuine connection. Not long ago, it was easy to feel lonely. Now, it is impossible to be alone. Young people today seem to have no desire for solitude, have never heard of it, can't imagine why it would be worth having. In fact, their use of technology, or to be fair, our use of technology, seems to involve a constant effort to stave off the possibility of solitude, a continuous attempt as we sit alone at our computers to maintain the imaginative presence of others. End of quote. Original unity. How do we find the roots of the second original unity, in this our moment of humanity? Pope John Paul interpreted original unity as the call to be embodied self-gift, to be spousal, either within faithful marriage of one man and one woman, or in committed celibacy. Self-identity and inner freedom are the prelude for authentic self-gift and faithful spousality. They both require real bodies and real presence. While solitude allows for growth in thought, judgment, and the capacity to distinguish, original unity concerns particularly a person's actions and bodily expression. The more totally there is free and real presence of the gift giver in the gift, the greater the gift, and the more spousal its character. How witness this call within cultures immersed in a virtual worldview, where enduring, faithful self-gift is judged to be inhibitive or even abnormal, a denial of the freedom to choose whatever form of coupling gives the most pleasure with the least obligation. So swiftly in the global moral ethos, there has been a 180-degree turn in understanding union and gift. If the gaming down of life names a major block to solitude today, the disregard for any boundaries underlies the dissolution of true union, gift, and spousality today. Already in Eden, the divine boundary at the tree of knowledge of good and evil was transgressed by what might be termed the original eating disorder, imitating the willful disregard of boundary after boundary. It was in the 1940s, however, with the explosion of atomic bombs, that humanity learned there are boundaries of energy release so volatile that their fallout cannot be contained. To this day, authorities search for potential places of burial for some radioactive materials that will take millennia to decompose. The non-containment of atomic release is an analogy for the eruptions of uncontained sexual energy, limitless communication, and scientific technological experimentation. As Father Benedict Ashley so perceptively says, any question I know how to ask concerns bodies, since even if something exists that is not bodily, I will know it only if somehow it contacts me as I am a body. Regrettably, to suggest boundaries on what it means to be embodied in the new millennium is considered increasingly a violation of human rights. This affects profoundly what it means to be self-gift, spousal, in the original intent, to be creaturely image of God. Clearly, it is not a matter of condemning technical advances or rapid transfer of information. Pope Benedict XVI on World Communications Day this year encouraged all those who make use of the new technologies of communications, especially the young, to utilize them in a positive way and to realize the great potential of these means to build up bonds of friendship and solidarity that can contribute to a better world. Always, It is a matter of wisdom and balance, with the sober realization that many who play online games say that their virtual friends are equal to or better than their real-life friends. Philip Rosedale, CEO and founder of Linden Labs of Second Life, the imaginary cyberspace world, says, "Our goal with Second Life is to make it better than real life in a lot of ways." In January of this year, Archbishop Butu Joseph Tiagale of Johannesburg addressed the South African Catholic Bishops' Conference regarding the postmodern global ethic, in which he said, quote, "The right to choose is promoted as the fundamental norm," end of quote. The consequence, he said, one can freely choose bisexuality, homosexuality, lesbianism, heterosexuality. The Archbishop noticed that the Beijing conference jettisoned the complementarity of man and woman with a goal of achieving an asexual society free of sexual labels. The Cairo conference proposed varied forms of family. There is a concerted effort, he said, to eliminate words such as virginity, chastity, spouse, husband, wife, marriage, etc. In the United States, the state of Iowa has changed its application form for marriage licenses. Applicants are now officially designated as Party A and Party B. We are coming to hear more about objectum unions, persons who attempt marriage with physical objects, such as the woman who ceremoniously married the Eiffel Tower, and another who, with attendants, married the Berlin Wall. Of greater concern are tens of thousands who are marrying electronic illustrations in imaginary worlds, the marriage of avatars. In virtual game worlds such as Second Life, where millions of people communicate with one another through avatars, digital representations of themselves, marriage is being reinterpreted further. Newsweek detailed the story of two whose avatar names are Mohawk and Heartwishbringer. The account tells how these two stumbled on each other in Second Life. They spent many online hours during the next 3 weeks chatting via IM. Before they had ever seen one another or heard each other's real voice, they got married in Second Life, as have thousands of others. This pair typed out their vows while their avatars stood atop a digital waterfall. In real life, they are an ocean apart. Both are single parents. She is divorced and with her children has moved into her parents' home in order to complete a college degree. He is 43, unmarried, and the father of 2. This is a quote from Newsweek. "Physical intimacy is out, but they use technology to fake it as best they can." End of quote. In Tokyo, a woman suddenly divorced in a virtual game world became so angry that she killed her online husband's digital persona. That was not real-life tragedy. She was arrested, however, in real life by the police on suspicion of hacking a computer and manipulating electronic data. Complaint had come from the man who found his online avatar dead. Now it seems this woman faces 5 years in jail or a fine of $5,000. David Levy predicts that developments in artificial intelligence will lead to human-robot dating in about 40 years, and that, weird as it may seem, someday being in love with a robot will be just as good as love with a human. No borders, no containment. The truth, able to be discerned by reason, is that the farther we press across familiar boundaries, the more intensely we need to be in trusted communion with those united to us. Astronauts, for example, must submit to the realities of space, time, and the disciplined gift of others in order to move beyond ordinary constraints in daily life. The further astronauts move into space, enabled by the meticulous work of others, they respect a necessary obedience and the monitoring of intimate aspects of their lives, including frequency of heartbeats and urine flow. The astronaut who would scoff at limitation and defy all boundaries is death-bound, lost in a space, a disaster for himself and others. There is a human anomaly here. Often, to avoid creaturely limitations on the essential aspects of human self-gift and spousality, a society or government will choose a decoy or something to serve as a scapegoat on which to project limitations and distract from what they choose to be unrestrained and limitless.